Welcome everybody back for another episode of Recruitment Ops in the Opsy, and today I am joined by Alex Roberts of Kyloe Partners. Don't know why I looked down there to read your name as if I don't know your name. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Wicked. Let's start with some intros into you and your role specifically at Kyloe Partners, what Kyloe Partners do, before we dive into the rest of it.
Sure. So I'll take you back a step before that. I think it probably sets the scene slightly better. So we go back 9 years. I was running a restaurant called Tamp Marie in Woking.
You were running a restaurant? I didn't know this at all.
I'll go back a step prior before that. So when I was like in my early 20s, I worked for a company called Absolute Taste. Absolute Taste was owned by McLaren, the Formula One team.
Yeah.
And they had the contracts for doing the events hospitality at the McLaren Technology Centre, Mercedes-Benz World, or near both of us, right? And I was at uni studying hospitality management and was running all the events there, like Monday to Sunday, was working like 80, 90, 100 hours a week at like whatever you're getting paid back then per hour, like £9 an hour, saving it to buy my house, which I did a couple of years ago. And I got to a point where I was just like, I want something else to do. So the lady that owned that company owned part of Tamp Marie, which was also owned by Gordon Ramsay.
Right.
And they were opening a restaurant, a training academy in Woking called Tamp Marie. They needed a restaurant manager. So it was like you could study there and you did like was it CIPD level 5? No, that's the HR, I don't know. There's a qualification you can do to be like a chef, but then they needed someone to actually run the restaurant outside of like the course. So I did that, but I did that for a year and a half, and I was doing like 100, 110, 120 hours a week. I was salaried at this point, and I was like, it's just not worth it. So I saw a job for a systems trainer at a recruitment agency, about 100 people across 8 offices globally. And I joined there about 9 years ago, and I was there for 5 years. So I went from systems trainer to like systems analyst to like, I don't know, but in year 5 when I left, I was head of IT. So I joined and there was an IT team of 6 people with a budget of like £1.2 million. And the point I left, I was head of IT and there was a budget of like £400,000 and £500,000.
That's actually quite mad. I didn't know that. So you're back. So from aspiring chef to restaurant manager to trainer to head of IT within a recruitment agency setting.
Yeah. So I never actually cooked. I was never a chef. So it's like the world's nicest events and the world's nicest like venues to recruitment at head office in Guildford, where I live now. We went through like a full IT transformation. We had everything on prem, so phones on prem, emails on prem, files on prem, CRM on prem, CV formatting and parsing on prem.
Yeah. There's people that won't know what on-prem means. Can you give us a layman's terms definition or explanation on it?
So basically we had a room about this size. It was really nicely air conditioned. And you had servers and all the tech you could ever need to run a recruitment agency. But the problem with it is you had users in Canada, North America and the Middle East all connecting to like servers in Guildford to like log onto their laptops. It's the way you used to do things. You don't do it like that. So we got rid of everything through the help of like a couple of partners. Bullhorn obviously being like the big transformation. We went from Itrus to Bullhorn. So that meant I got to go to Calgary, Houston, Amman, Dubai, Cape Town, London, our head office in Guildford, everywhere to roll out Bullhorn. It was one of the biggest and most complicated implementations of Bullhorn like to date I've probably ever seen.
Really? Wow.
But that's like the true like complexity of like that like truly global like operation.
Give us a quick overview of that agency. What markets was that? What types of recruitment were we talking about?
Oil and gas.
Yeah.
Oil and gas. I think they do technically exist today. They were purchased a couple of years ago, probably now. But oil and gas, about 100 people. When I joined, it was about 80 million turnover a year. And at the point they left, they had me as head of IT.
Nice. And then those are, I spent a bit of time around oil and gas recruiters in the group that I worked in, or I started in as a recruitment consultant. Some of the processes that you had to deal with there, like getting paid was difficult. Some of the roles came with lots of danger money. There was lots of security issues. Travel needed to be paid. It was a bit of a wild west, that market.
So when people tell me they're like a tech recruiter in London, it's really complicated. I'm like, no, it's not really complicated. I know really complicated. It's probably by far, I'm happy to anyone tell me I'm wrong, like probably one of the most compliant, dangerous, complicated, like the mobilization of getting someone from like London to like Mozambique and everything that you have to jump through to do that. And with tech that at the time, like probably let you down. Like there wasn't a lot of good bits of kit for like everything you needed. So a lot of it was very manual. A lot of it probably is very manual today. But great fun. So I did everything I could ever like dream of at quite a young age. And I was like, what else is there I can do? So I had Bullhorn and Kyloe were obviously two of our core partners. And I was in a meeting one day in our meeting room in London. I think it was like a quarterly catch up, at which point my account manager, Lee at the time, told me he was leaving, he was going to Bullhorn, and where he's now a principal solutions consultant. I think he's just.
So he was from Kyloe, but he said he was going to Bullhorn,
And I said, who's replacing you? And they said, we're hiring. So that night I went onto the website, applied to the job, reached out and had an interview, a couple of interviews, presentations like the following weeks after that, and started 3 months after that. And that'd be 5 years ago next month.
Wow. And I guess you'd had the first-hand experience of doing a bit of traveling consulting and on that large project. Was it, so for anyone that doesn't know, Bullhorn don't implement their own technology, they have to use partners, right?
And is
that
within reason?
And Kyloe are one of, I don't know how many partners there are.
In the UK, like I say 2.
Yeah.
There are more, like if in America, like you might be counting, I don't know, 4 or 5 on like the Bullhorn like native Bullhorn platform, like 4 or 5 partners. You go into Europe, you pick up a couple more. You go into Australia, you pick up a couple of more. But in the UK, like primarily like 1 or 2.
And so typically people will buy Bullhorn or go through a Bullhorn sales cycle, then conversation starts around how do we implement it, migrate it, set it up, etc., training and so on and so forth. And that's where you and Kyloe come in. So you got to experience that from the customer's standpoint first.
And I'll make that a little bit more trickier as well. So when I started at Kyloe, I didn't start in my role, I started in our implementation team.
Right.
So for the first 12 months, I started as an implementation consultant. So I actually did our data mapping, our data issues, our like the UAT cycles, the training. Like I did everything for the first 12 months. So I did had a good 4 and a bit years of like Bullhorn implementation, a very complicated level, to then join Kyloe to actually implement it in our implementation team. It was very similar to what I'd done for like the last 4 years, that whole process, configuration, administration, training. And I turned around and I was like, I really enjoy Kyloe, really enjoy Bullhorn, but really want to do something else. To which point I flipped into our sales team as a solutions consultant. And what we now 3 and a bit, 4 years later, principal solutions consultant. So ultimately responsible for all those net new implementations for Bullhorn from the UK all the way. I cover UK all the way I'd say to New Zealand. So UK, EMEA, APAC. North America's handled by Matt, my boss, who's I call him our sales director and marketing, director of sales and marketing. He's based in America. He covers North America. And then as well as that, also do with consulting as well. So not just implementation. So once you're on Bullhorn, helping you get the most out of Bullhorn, either through any of the services that our solutions team offer or anything that our product team offers.
What does a solutions consultant mean? Because job titles are interesting, right? And if you're an ops person sitting in an agency and you're like, right, actually we do like the look of Bullhorn, because I don't know, for whatever reason they like the look of Bullhorn and they're trying to do a bit of research into their partners. You see job titles on LinkedIn sometimes and it's I had no idea what it meant until I got into my first CRM.
And it means different things at different places. If you compare what a solutions consultant at Bullhorn is very specific to understanding the requirements and demoing. At Kyloe, it's understanding the client, it's documenting it so your solutions team can deliver it, and it's selling it. So it's everything. It's the whole shebang, kit and caboodle.
And Kyloe specifically are Bullhorn aligned, Bullhorn focused.
I say as long as it starts or ends with Bullhorn, it will sit in our remit.
Nice.
It doesn't always sit in our remit, and if it doesn't, like, we'll make sure you go to the right person, the right provider. That might be another marketplace partner, might be another SI partner, might be a consultant. It's all about the right solution.
Starts and ends with Bullhorn is a good way to look at it, isn't it? Why Bullhorn for Kyloe? Do you know what's the backdrop behind that?
I'll probably butcher this a little bit.
Yeah.
So Bullhorn's head of professional services. So 10 years ago, we had Raymond and Stuart. Raymond had his own. He had a company that he exited from. Bullhorn's head of professional services. Stuart and Raymond came together to build Kyloe. And at that point, the core focus was to build out that kind of core implementation team and to implement Bullhorn, because Bullhorn, I don't know the exact reasons as to why Bullhorn didn't want to do it, because they did. Like, Bullhorn implemented, like, I was a client, Bullhorn implemented us, because we're probably like the bigger, more complicated scale. Now we're like absolute standard for like Kyloe. So 11 years this year, Kyloe was born to like manage those implementations. Very early on in that journey, there was also kind of questions about Bullhorn doesn't do this, like insert X system does this. Bullhorn clients now want that. Can Kyloe kind of plug those gaps? And like Awesome Docs was like the very first product that like, where the kind of the biggest differentiator kind of gap was, and that we filled, like that automated like generation documents.
It's quite common for software companies, US software companies, to have partners who operate as resellers or professional services partners. When I've recruited for BMC Remedy, who are based in Winnersh Triangle, not far from here, I ended up recruiting for the technology. Then I ended up working for Fusion, who were like a platinum partner, selling, and then they'd sell the licenses. We'd get visibility of their pipeline of license sales, so that we could then get ourselves in there for their pipeline and the PS sales. But one thing you touched on there was Awesome Docs, and I guess plugging those other gaps. So I always used to think of Kyloe as an SI partner, implementations, in, out, do your migration, get you set up, a couple of bits of training, off you pop. And it was only over the last sort of 12 months or so where I started hearing about Awesome Docs and some of the other products that you got. So not only are you guys in the ecosystem, the Bullhorn ecosystem, but you're also innovating within the ecosystem to develop products and offerings and solutions, like micro solutions almost within it. Can we talk a bit about that? Like, where does that come from?
Sure. So I don't know like the actual splits of like revenue and people, but you're probably talking maybe to like 60% revenue, maybe 70% of people is actually focused on that, like what I call like that marketplace product world. So I was looking at my one hand, I don't know if I can count our products on one hand anymore. And that's how I was originally a client of Kyloe. So we had Awesome Docs, we had data tools. So data tools allows you to automate the deduplication of candidates, companies and contacts. Identify any data point within Bullhorn and automatically update it, either like as a one-off or as like on a sync. You've got Awesome Docs, your data tools. Now we've probably doubled the number of products we have in like the last like 18 months. Because we now have what came first? So Note Taker came first. So Note Taker is a note taker for Bullhorn. So connected to Microsoft Teams, connected to Google Meet, connected to Zoom. It sits, it listens, it automatically transcribes, automatically updates Bullhorn. That all comes back. And with like all these AI products, like with like Bullhorn Amplify, like those transcriptions and the benefit of those transcriptions, like I don't think I could actually do what I do. Like the standard of what I do now was always good, but the standard of what I do now versus so when I do a project, there's what the client sees, but probably more and what's important is what our internal team sees. Like the quality of that is just so much better based on those transcripts. Also allows you to just do so much more to a higher quality in a much quicker period of time. Especially on like the more complicated, unique customization stuff, rather than like the out the box stuff. Kyloe Connect kind of connects our latest, the latest and greatest, which is our onboarding and scheduling platform.
Is that shift management stuff?
Shift management, yeah, and in order to get them into the shift management, you go through like the onboarding aspect of them. That is that we acquired that earlier last year, 2025, through acquisition. It's not, whilst it's a new product to Kyloe, it's processed millions of workers and millions of timesheets. So that is a well-tested and proven product, but it's now coming into the Kyloe world, fully and baking it into like all the little bits of Bullhorn that like you expect it to be, and just kind of getting it ready to go to market, which it has done now.
Nice.
And then you've got some other products. You've got like Workflow, which allows you to like generate emails, just like little bits and pieces that like some people are really, really, really used to in their platform that Bullhorn doesn't do, like plugging some of those little gaps.
Nice. And is that, you mentioned that there's obviously been loads going on in the last 18 months or so.
Yep.
When I met with Thomas Vose not long ago, he was saying to me, he was like, the rate at which they can develop new features and products, he was like, roadmaps are getting ripped up because it's not now quarterly, it's like 4-week, 2-week sprints. You can go from ideation to push to production in 2, 3, 4 weeks. So I guess that plays a bit of a part into the speed, but is the innovation driven from a customer who wants to use Bullhorn, who maybe is gonna hang their hat on, I'm not coming unless it does this, and that's where the innovation comes from? Or is it more feedback loops with customers and just innovation in itself? Which of the three would you say it mostly is?
So we used to develop product. We used to have dev teams specific to products. We now have development teams specific to roadmap, which is taking that kind of feedback on the market and what our clients want. And some of our biggest clients are in healthcare in the US, right? Which is very different to a tech recruiter that does SAP in London. So we've gone from having like an awesome docs developer or a data tools developer specific to a product to specific to the market, I'd probably say is the best way. So you have half the development team that work on like strategic roadmap, the other half working on like this feedback loops and client feedback. And that's probably a change we made at the beginning of this year, end of last year. I think the end of last year. So yeah, completely like, I guess it's similar to what Tom's saying there, like completely flipping the way you think about development. To also just take what we want, get what we want to market quicker, ultimately. And
I can see why if I was back in house and I was committed to a Bullhorn decision from a CRM standpoint, I could see why Kyloe would come across as appealing, because actually knowing that there's a business that can innovate, develop, I assume you take on custom dev work from folks, right?
So what I was about to say, I don't do anything about what I just spoke about. I do everything else. So everything that doesn't sit in our product world sits in my world. So anything and everything that Bullhorn doesn't do, a marketplace partner doesn't do, our products don't do, I do it. And I can assure you there's a lot that falls into that world. The Bullhorn API allows us to do, and some of our own proprietary platforms that we've built to do things quicker, make things look pretty. A lot of the cost when you do things to make things look pretty, a lot of the cost comes from making them look pretty. But we now have proprietary tools that let us do those things quicker. Like just simple things like master rate management, like Bullhorn or there's a lot of CRMs, be careful what I say here. You insert a rate onto a placement. If you have framework agreements, there is no natural home. There are natural homes for them to be stored, but if you want to store a framework agreement at like a company level and automate it onto a job and a placement, that's the kind of like weird and wonderful things that we do.
Amazing.
Just making things just like completely as streamlined and as secure as possible.
The framework stuff is interesting. With agency I'm working with at the moment has had to invest significant time and money into Power BI, because actually the only way to report on revenue accurately, take into consideration rebate calculations, was via Power BI, and it still required custom fields because we still needed to put a framework drop down in. We then needed to have a spreadsheet in SharePoint which said what the percentage was for them. And it's not as simple as calculating it on margin, because actually the percentage comes off of the total charge invoice. So
Yep.
if the total charge invoice has got expenses, you pay rebate on expenses, which you don't charge margin on. There's so much of that stuff that people don't think about when it comes down to systems and stuff. Is that your sweet spot? Complexity. Is that where you feel your
Kyloe is the SI consultancy marketplace, let's call it, has, I'd say, like completely changed in like the last like 12 to 18 months. Like there's far more people and companies popping up to offer very similar services to what we offer, which I think, and there's lots of different opinions, is only a good thing. The sweet spot as Kyloe is we do the complicated, we do the complex, and we do the complex very well.
Yeah.
Like it might not be cheap, it might not be £2,000, it might be like £6,000 or £7,000, but like there's so much that go into such what you think is simple and basic. Like sometimes there can be so much that go into it. Like you might want a piece of development, but in order to do that piece of development, like you got to do like 4 hours worth of config to do that. Like there's so much that so many people just don't think about. There's also just so much that like people don't think about, but like you can do. People just have to have the, I don't know, desire, the want
to explore all that stuff.
To explore what you can really do.
I always do art of the possible.
Art of the possible.
Like, let's talk about the art of the possible. With break, I feel like Morpheus from the Matrix sometimes, because I sit down and go, right, break, forget about everything you think you know about recruitment technology. What do you want it to do? What does the process need to look like? What does the tech need to look like? And do you know what, nowadays it's not that hard to get to that to be a viable solution, whereas maybe a year or two ago it was difficult. And
if it doesn't work, you vibe code it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's a vibe coder now. Okay, so Bullhorn through and through, early days, not just an implementation partner, also innovating within the ecosystem, own products, offer bespoke consultancy. You've probably seen your fair share of recruitment agencies and implementations happen, or inquiries happen, sales cycles you've been through. What are the, because my audience is ops audience who might be considering projects, what do you ever see or hear when you're meeting agencies that make you think, oh, they're going to be good. They're going to be good for, they're going to have a successful project because of A or because of B or C. Is there anything that's like a real green flag for you, or anything that's a particular red flag for you?
Yeah, you probably get more red flags than green flags, unfortunately. But like that's the nature of the business, right? Not everyone has the time, the knowledge, expense, money, budget to do exactly what they want to achieve. But if they had someone just really understand what they wanted to do and what they could get out of it, then like those things would probably change. And we work with, so like I think last year, like I personally, clients that actually went into like our project team I think it was like 85 clients, and that's just me, like that's no one else at Kyloe, that's just me, but 85 unique clients that we worked with. And of them, you're talking from like, I don't know what the smallest client, like from like maybe 14 users at like the lower end, all the way through to like maybe 50, 60 as like the sweet standard spot, but then all the way up to like 200 and about 200, 250 users. And so across those, you see all different kinds of profiles. And at the really large end, you'd expect to see people that like own process, own data, and they don't. But then you go down to that like middle sweet spot and they like do. Like, so it's bizarre what you can see. You think like their revenues, like it's crazy, but like green flags, like you understand why you're like, we just talk about like an implementation scoping call, like you understand why you're there, you understand what you're looking to achieve, you understand how your business works, you understand how your systems support you. And if you can kind of, I don't know if they're like the 4 kind of core pillars, but like if you can answer all those questions, like they're just like green flags. If you can't answer them, like you're setting us up and yourselves up to fail. But like we will be the first, like I will be the first person to call any of those things out.
Got you, right?
Which like when you're on a sales call with someone that's selling a product, It might not necessarily like you saying the things you say, but ultimately like yourselves and like whether it's Bullhorn, it's Kyloe, or it's the end kind of client we're working with, like you only get like the best outputs.
Yeah, that's such a good point there, isn't it? Like when knowing why you're in the room in the first place and why you're on the call. The pod I did this morning, we were talking about the number one bit of advice this ops director said to the ops audience was know the problem that you're trying to solve as the starting point for anything that you do. Yep. Basically, there's got to be problem first led. So what you're saying is, if people can get in front of you in a scoping call and articulate why they're there, what's the problem they're trying to solve, what they're trying to innovate, what they're trying to do more of, know their processes, know their businesses, then there are somewhat green flags. There's some like handsome 5'7" brown fella that always talks about process over tech all the time. I that's why I believe CRM changes are such a big job to do. And when people have tight budgets and then they don't want to necessarily spend loads on consultancy, I always say to them, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, because actually you can just go make a hash of it, make it worth, spend the money, commit. I just wonder how much unpicking you can do. Do you see that? Do you do much of that poor implementation? Not to throw, I don't want to talk about other partners or anything like that, but do you ever find yourself going in and then trying to remediate people's instances or experience with Bullhorn?
Yes, yeah. So we do. I was laughing because I looked at my inbox this morning, but we get a lot of people coming to us who have gone through implementation. Like, don't get me wrong, like we get it ourselves. Like you spend 14 weeks doing your ATS CRM, you then do 4 weeks automation, 4 weeks analytics. Like you might have like a pay and bill in there. And you might actually, what might be a simple project at like 12 weeks actually is more actually like 24 weeks when you think about it, like really start to end. And there's a lot that goes in, and there's a lot of people making decisions that like you can only trust are right. So I don't think it matters like who you partner with, because like there's other SI partners out there who have got people that have come from agencies, who sold agencies, who have far more recruitment experience than like any of our consultants. But our consultants are very, very, very good at implementing and consulting. So you have different people and different partners providing different layers and levels and types of experience, which works and doesn't work for different personas of clients buying. And sometimes you're working with like a CEO, sometimes you're working with like an ops director, sometimes you're working with like a recruitment manager, sometimes like you have like a consultant that's like been tasked with a project and they're doing it. Like, and if they can deliver that, like fair play, alongside like billing as usual. So yeah, I mean, we see anything and everything you could ever imagine at this point. I kind of think like you've seen it, and then even sometimes you can get surprised. Like, oh, okay, like can be interesting.
Nice. What's the sell at the moment then to people that are looking for implementation partner at the moment for Bullhorn? How do you one line it to everyone as to why they should go work with Kyloe?
So implementations in the last 12 months, definitely the last 6 months, are getting more and more and more complicated. You can be a 15 user agency with, I don't know, just 400 temps or 400 contractors. And you can be far more complicated because you've got pay and bill, you've got shift scheduling, you've got automation analytics, like all the standard stuff. Far more complicated at 14 users than like a 90 user that just does 100% perm.
Yeah, of course.
And and the problem you then have is then budgets. The budgets are like that and like that, whereas like really they like need to be like that. And I think what we're really, really, really good at is understand, like, and we have a lot of experience in implementations, right? As a business, we're 11 years old this year, just turned 10. We're probably at like 500 implementations. We have go lives every couple of weeks. Like you learn so much through that. And like now with like the use of AI and like actually now we're probably in like a world where like using AI, and I hate to say it, but like machine learning, kind of understand more and more and more the conversations you're having, how they translate into like outputs and what that actually looks like when someone goes live.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard. If there was like a way, someone can come up with a way for me to say like, this is what you said here, this is what you've gone live with, this is what you've achieved in 6, 9, 8, 12, 18 months. Like that would be really cool.
Yeah,
I think that's like the next layer. But to answer your question like that, what kind of one-liner, like we're just very good at understanding and translating what you're trying to do through those like years of experience.
Yeah, nice. I've only implemented Bullhorn once, and I actually worked with a different SI partner. It was a job science to Bullhorn move, which job science is owned by Bullhorn now, right? So we had to do some very weird and wonderful field mapping stuff, which I did enjoy. Let's talk about AI and automation and all things tech. You mentioned machine learning there. What do you think? Where do you stand on it? When people must be asking you as well, right? Agencies must be saying, "Oh
like,
God."
If I always take it back to how I use AI.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like to think if I had an extra day in the week, I'd probably say like in Kyloe and what we do, probably like at the forefront of AI and what it can do. If I had the time and budget, an extra day in the week, like I just look at what I used to do and what I do now and how I do it, and it's just like complete like game-changingly different from like the generation of like, I don't know, presentations, the way we use transcripts, the way we generate documents, the way we just do everything like very, 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 I'd say pro AI. And if I look at what I can do and what Kyloe can do as a business, then any recruiter and any agency can do more better. Doesn't necessarily need to be more with less. I don't think it's ever going to like replace a recruiter. Parts of it will. Parts of it will replace tasks that they used to do, that they don't necessarily need to do. I think the end client will also be doing the same, so we'll understand and we'll appreciate it more. But something that Raymond, our CEO and founder, always says, like, AI is the worst it will ever be is today. Yeah. So it's only going to get better.
That's such a good line.
It's only going to get better from here. You're only ever going to be able to do more. It's only going to make people better. I'd like to think it makes people smarter.
Yeah.
It definitely gets me thinking about things in different ways.
Yeah.
And if I think like, it just all goes back down to that like extra day a week. Like if I had that extra day a week with AI, what could I do?
Yeah.
Like,
that's such a good, one of the things that I'm involved in a tech, what would you call it? It's a tech stack audit, but they want to buy some new automation and some whizzy AI stuff. And the salesperson sold it or is selling it. Is saying you're going to get this much time back.
Okay.
And they've done a time and motion study.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think the time and motion study has been done properly, personally, because academically asking a recruiter, how long does it take you to format a CV? If they're behind target, they're going to tell you it takes them 30 minutes to format a CV. If they're smashing through targets, they're going to tell you the true answer because everyone has a self-serving purpose. So the time and motion study, I think, is completely redundant. But anyway, they've come up with these numbers. And so my challenge back to the founder was, okay, brilliant. So we've got that much time back, percentage, capacity release. So is everyone's targets going up by that percentage? Is actual revenue going to go up by that percentage? Are KPIs going to move by that percentage? What are people doing with this time that they've got back? Are we just going to say, yeah, have it back as your own time? So I'm finding it hard, like at the moment, with some of the business cases around it. I think AI though I love that line from Raymond. I think he's so absolutely spot on. It's only going to get better from here on out. I think everyone needs to be using it, but I don't know whether you need to be scaremongered into spending money on lots of tools.
On the spending money, there's so many point solutions. Like,
what's a point solution for those that might not know?
Something that does something very specific. There is nothing out there that does like something for everyone. So if I look at like what I pay for or what I've paid for in the last couple of months, I only use this because you told me about it. Gamma.
Yeah.
So when there's really complicated things that I need to present in a really simple way without spending, there's a balance in everything I do between the amount of time I spend in it versus what it's worth to me, Kyloe, and the client. So Gamma takes the prompts that I give it to create that presentation. And I'll come back in a few weeks on that and tell you how that. I'll tell you a funny story about that. We'll see how it goes. Replit for vibe coding. So it's like sales calculators. So like we built our original sales calculator into it, like proof of concepts. We built some proof of concepts in Replit. Did try Lovable, but like
I spent a fortune on Lovable.
I fell back to Replit.
Did you?
Yeah, I fell back to Replit. I'm missing something. What am I missing? Copilot for 365. So I have a Copilot 365 license. I've had it for probably like since it very came out, which is probably pushing 2 years now. And that is only getting to that, like AI only gets better. Like that is getting better every single week, a month that goes by. Like what you could do with a 365 Copilot license 18 months ago versus what you could do today is very different.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I've had that nearly 2.5 years. But they're like, you think that's me, right? And what I do in my position. You're a recruiter, like CV formatting, transcribing, phone system, like I don't know, like
lead genning.
Yeah, like
scary thing,
you can end up with a very big tech stack of things, and it's like some agencies can afford that, right?
Yeah.
Most can't, to like keep adding, and if they do, like, are they set up properly? Are they integrated properly?
Yeah, exactly.
Are they getting used properly? Does everyone know how they train, used like properly? Like, the answer is probably no.
It's no.
It's probably no. It's probably no to most of those questions most of the time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but like, yeah.
I think that's a really good point around the point solutions piece, because I think I feel like we're seeing a shift now where I think people like Bullhorn, Mercury, Vincere, some of the bigger firms, where, for example, they ended up with this crazy marketplace or partnership base where people are doing very specific point solutions, and it's like, well, actually now, like, you can spin one up in the next 4 weeks. So like all of a sudden, I feel like there was a historic need for an ecosystem. Right? If you think about the gaps that you guys were plugging with that, perfect. I mean, you guys were almost doing it before everyone else was doing it, like in terms of now being it with the speed of development. But I do think that people are liking the idea of one platform, one place for your data. At least if all your data is in one place, you can then start leveraging technology over the top of that data. And I think that's probably the biggest shift I've seen. Like all of a sudden people are interested in talking about, no, we want to go with one partner or two, like just to have everything. Because there was some rec tech consultancy group put out a map of a tech stack, and it had like 12 different things in it, and they were like, this is what I'd build for a client if I could start from scratch. I was like, fucking hell, did you win the lottery? Like, that's ridiculous. And also nothing was like, whilst there were like 3 central hubs of data, but everything else was plugged onto it. And it just didn't feel right to me.
But it's also like 12 logins.
Yeah.
It's consultant needs like 12 logins. Like, it's like, and I do get it to a degree. Like, I do get integrations. I do get the marketplace. I do get it all. But like, you got to have gone through the right process to be signing on that dotted line, to be implementing it.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you can answer all those questions. Then like, you can have 20 apps in your tech stack. Like, if you've done it all properly, I don't think it matters. It's the fact that like, majority of the time it's not done properly. Because there's not someone owning it and loving it. And if you have someone that loves everything, then probably in a good place.
Everyone needs a systems trainer like you.
I don't know if everyone needs a systems trainer, but I think it doesn't matter how big or how small you are, you need someone that loves your tech stack. And if you can have that one person that loves it and like shows it love, like, highly recommend having that in place.
Yeah, agreed. I try and get people to leave some tips behind when they wrap up for people that are potentially looking at Bullhorn in this instance. Potentially, if someone's looking at Bullhorn, someone's looking at CRM change in general. I think we've had a couple of tips from you throughout this anyway when we're talking about the flags. But top 3 tips that you give to someone that's like considering a CRM right this second. What can they do to best prepare themselves for successful projects?
Understand why you're having that conversation about doing that project. write down what your requirements are. Like, it doesn't need to be like 700 rows on a spreadsheet. It can be really high level. Understand why you're doing it. Like, what's the difference between platform A and platform B if you're moving from platform A to platform B? If you're adding on platform C onto platform B, then why are you doing that? So just have some kind of, just a real good understanding of like why you're doing it. And then when you're talking to that provider, I'm going to say, ask the questions you need to ask, but like you don't always know the right questions to ask. So in that case, like, find the person that will know the right questions to ask. And that might not necessarily be someone in your business, it might be someone outside your business, it might be someone like yourself. Like, and then try and see past like the demo candy. Like, what I love and have always loved about Kyloe, because I bought from Kyloe, we had a very, very, very ropey relationship when I was buying from Kyloe, because I really knew what I wanted. Like, try and see past that demo candy. And like, when we demo, like, what I think is really, really cool about all of our products, like, yes, there are things that are really cool, but like, they're all very, like, our products are very straightforward. They do exactly what you want them to do. And if they can't do what they want you to do, like, now we've got this like new way of development, like those feature requests go in and they actively get reviewed, and they're just like yes, no, like it's very straightforward. What else? I mean, that's pretty good for now.
Yeah, nice, cool. Right, that was good. We're borrowing desks today from from Branded by Pillar Jade, again housing us strays. You got much on for the rest of the day?
No, we do have an office. It's just in Orkney in Scotland. It's very far away.
This is closer. Yeah. Well, thank you again for listening, and catch us in 2 weeks' time for the next instalment of In the Opsy.